Hajime is adorable with these two. As is common to new writer debuts, Liangle just one-punches the two out. Which is odd, because Chalice outclasses him power-wise by, a lot. Granted, all of the Blade Rider's ability stats are pretty comparable to the Smart Brain Rider gears in terms of physical capabilities, so the difference between them isn't that massive. But it's odd for a mid-series rider form to debut weaker than the others, and yet appear to so outclass them with just physical power, instead of any other capabilities. Granted, Mutsuki isn't in control right now. The Spider Undead has completely subsumed him, showing the one unique power of his gear the others don't possess, which he should have opened with. Yeah, this is why he was Isaka's trump card. Liangle can unseal undead, which can enter them back into the battle fight. With someone fully indoctrinated to his power, even if he had to fight, Liangle could just release him as many times as needed. Worse, Liangle can reseal any of the undead to make them his own cards for continuance of the battle his own way, resealing the one that belonged to Kenzaki. However, Spider's control isn't absolute, Liangle breaking off as Mutsuki begins to resist it. To be fair, it was only the first use. Kinda need more time to get it to settle.
でもあいつがあんな風に一方的にやられるなんて一体何者なんだ
Hey, camera dude? Tripod and stabilization equipment! Make use of it! The previous 4 shows, and all of the show writer shots in windy environments, I didn't have this problem! Tachibana tells them what he could find out about Mutsuki, which isn't much, but at least narrowing down the user to being 18 is a big help. They try returning the Garen belt to him, but Tachibana refuses, not wanting that burden again. Mutsuki is seen with the belt. His murmur is explaining why Spider was able to influence him. It offered him the power to be like those that saved him, be a commoner himself and be a hero, but that temptation is Spider's way in to control him after the transformation, possessing his body and turning him into the exact opposite of that dream. It's really twisted when you think about it, as Mutsuki is entirely oblivious to what he does once transforming from what's shown here. It's a really good way to mediate the antagonist being made out of a good person issue the Liangle power invokes. And you know what's strange about this? This was written by Toshiki Inoue. Yeah, the guy who started up the writer conflict nonsense is the one who scripted things to validate this as not being Mutsuki's fault, but an oblivious pawn. And hell, this is actually a really good character piece introducing Mutsuki into the story properly, as it gives insight into his life, and how he's treated as a doormat by everyone else around him, including his teammates on his school's basketball team, which happens to be named Akatsuki. I see what you did there, Inoue. Wanting to be a hero and seek some form of validation for himself? That's admirable, even if it ends up abused. By chance, Kenzaki runs straight into Mutsuki, Mutsuki thanking him for the other day, but as Kenzaki never asks for Mutsuki's name, he tells him he's on the lookout for Mutsuki and why they're after him by having the belt, but not why it's a danger. Thus, it doesn't influence him to step forward and potentially get help. It's a misunderstanding that makes sense for both characters and their desires, as this is totally something Kenzaki would do. Forget an important detail and explaining something in the same way, he always seems to miss an important detail in his argument. But it seems like it's a big oversight on his part. The Boar Undead attacks, the team alerted to it by Go Kiryu, who is identified as a previous candidate for Liangle. But Mutsuki followed Kenzaki to the battlefield, and thus uses the belt.
Open out.
お前がムツキってやつだったのか。
違う。俺の名はレンゲ。最強の仮面ライダー。
Bitch, please! You can even kick Kuga Mighty's ass! Well, at least amongst the Blade Riders, he does have a huge advantage over them, what with his ability to make the Rouse cards worthless by unsealing them. And yeah, they are straight up front that Mutsuki is not in any way in control here, instead of making this a far larger misunderstanding. which Inoue could so easily have done to screw with the series status quo. Hell, Liango loses control again, and it's when this is immediately put out into the open. Kenzaki then doing the responsible thing in taking the belt and bringing Mutsuki in. Tachibana encounters the aforementioned Kiryu, who's now operating as a special agent for the police and stopping criminals, revealing that Kiryu has kept a grudge over being passed over for Garen. The entire situation is explained to Mutsuki, who's still unable to remember what he does while transformed, but as he's still under its influence, he thinks if he keeps transforming, he can take control and gain the power he's never had in his life. But they lock the Liango buckle up, so he won't ever have the chance.
ライダーのことなんか普通の生活に戻るんだ。それがお前のためなんだから。
Good guy Kenzaki! Responsible adult superhero! Peter Parker could learn several things from him. Kiryu tracks down another criminal, this time a child kidnapper, who he straight up murders with electrified power gauntlets, to Tachibana's shock.
どうせゴミのような連中だ。掃除をして何が悪い。違う。
due process, dude?
あなたのしてることは犯罪だ。貴様に何がわかる?
Yeah, he's carried his grudge into the rest of his career and now deals with anything with no hesitation or quarter. Still stuck in the memory of how he couldn't pass through the transformation barrier their gears create to endow him with the undead's power, and the lingering sight of his own failure.
あの事故で俺は右腕を失った。
How the hell did you lose your hand from that, dude? So yeah, Kiryu's bitter, and taking it out on the world around him, even if it is at the moment limited to criminals. But it's so easy to see how that could easily spiral into attacking innocent people. Tachibana tells this to the team, and also to Liango's belt, which more warps away under the power of the Spider Undead, returning to Mutsuki. I would really like to know how it does that.
お前帰ってきてくれたんだ俺のところに頑張ってお前の力俺のものにしてみせるもっともっと強くなって
Okay, I hate the lens flare and backlighting in this show as it is that damn obnoxious, but this is one of the few times it is used well to accent the wrongness of everything in that scene and Mutsuki's obsession, with the light just pulsing like that, which has connotations of one being forced into a suggestible state. Bravo! And we see the results of that as well. Mutsuki starting to become restless and aggressive, acting in the same manner as you would expect from an early usage drug addict, in how he's become increasingly antisocial. It's shown as he crosses paths with Kiryu that his body is now infested with spiders. Rider powers. Not even once! Tachibana agrees to help Kenzaki hunt for Liango's belt, admitting that though he made a flashy exit, he can't just stay away or stay uninvolved. He's just too weak a man and doesn't want to be alone, so he can't even run away from his problems correctly. Still, it's a good thing he decided to join back up, as the effects of Liango are so strong, Mutsuki even attacks his girlfriend when she tries to learn what's wrong with him. This is actually the line for Mutsuki too, deciding, what's the point of power if you only hurt people with it? Oh my god, a talking belt! Why is that what I keep being surprised by?
With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy.
Mutsuki tries to throw it away again, but it just docks itself onto him, taking possession of him again. With more of the unsealed undead re-emerging, Liango goes after them to make their power his own. It's ultimately becoming a battle royale with Blade and Chalice joining in to stop them all and reclaim their cards, with Tachibana left on the sidelines. When Liango tries to go after Blade, however, the previous trauma of what he almost did to his girlfriend gets him to stop long enough for Blade to punch the transformation out of him, but it only allows someone else to claim it. Yeah, this isn't Inoue screwing the rules. The card that released the undead is remote, as in remote control. It makes perfect sense that the unsealed undead, now part of the game again, would be subjugatable through the use of this power. It makes sense once again from the perspective of how Isaka was his designer, as that's what he did with most humans to manipulate them. Langle attacks Chalice, condemning it for allowing the human spirit card to control him. It's seeming as if Kiryu bears more in synchronicity with Spider himself, as he both does and does not control his rider form, demanding Tachibana face him himself as a rider. Mitsuki collapses on himself, still the same to what he did to his girlfriend. And if you're wondering why I keep referring to her like that, it takes forever for her to even be named, if she ever is at all within the confines of the story. Her credited name, however, is Nozomi. Bore discusses Kiryu's use. She already thinks it's a good thing as they'd have a new ally, but with Kiryu's changes that Tachibana's seen, he's just as likely to try and kill them as seal the undead. Hajime himself is shown in bad shape after his beating. Amane and Haruka worried about him, but oh god his facial expressions with the shaking. But his thoughts are nonetheless locked on Liangle's words. What has being human, and trying to understand humans, done to him? Even with what he said before, Tachibana tries to talk him down from using the power of Liangle's belt, but all Kiryu can see is the power he lost, wanting to prove once and for all he should have been Garen from the start by fighting him. Mutsuki, however, begins to have after effects from his use of the gear, going into effectively withdraw from the lack of it around, and that may be a fate Kiryu has in store for him as well. Kanzaki also seeing another angle on this. They're reaching out to those around them in its use, where they could as easily kill their enemies without effort and yet toy with them? It might just be a cry for help. Mutsuki, however, steals Garen, deciding one belt should be as good as another for this obsessive fixation he's under, Shiori calling the pair, who then corner him. Though Mutsuki realizes he couldn't use it immediately, just wanted to try trading for it. Kiryu's seen with 4 undead released with remote, assuming control of them again as he transforms, all to force Tachibana to face him. But as Mutsuki tries to trade, Kiryu refuses, knowing there's only one person qualified to fight him with it, and it won't be him. Kanzaki engages him as well, repeatedly encouraging him to fight, as all the others have. This calling back to Kiryu's original failure, and the reason Tachibana first transformed in the experiments was because Kiryu asked him to. How could he have forgotten that that was why he originally did this? Did he truly lose his way that much when he feared for his own life? Well, I guess it's time for him to awaken his own trump card. Thus, Garen finally gets his groove back. The Diamond Rider's ranged fire, not something Liangle can deal with, holding him off so he can't even use remote to release his rouse cards. Spider is not happy by this failure, depowering Kiryu and dropping off him, allowing Mutsuki to reclaim the belt. And once again, I must say, this is how you fucking use lens flare, to disguise an identity amidst light until it's time to reveal them. And in new ways, work gets it.
Open up.
Moreover, it's excellent contrast as well. A man bathed and hidden by the lights, all as he decides to give in to his inner darkness. And while Blade and Garrett succeed in resealing the undead and defeat Boar to seal him as well, we see Kiryu smiling at Garen, as if he's proud Tachibana was finally able to stand up with resolve on his own.
昔からお前に言いたいことがあった。もっとバカになれ。真面目すぎるんだよ、お前は。
That is terrible advice. If you mean it as, don't overthink things, you can say that and still not be a dick.
結局、お前には勝てなかったってことさ。
And Mutsuki, the boy who wanted to be a hero, now has his own body count. Now, does this story arc remind anyone else of something you might have seen before? Like, say, in Power Rangers?
Zord, you are under my command.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm fine. No offense, dude, but you don't look fine.
I'm just taking a rest.
Maybe I should call your dad or
No,
something?
don't! What's wrong?
Now, to say goodbye. Huh?
Trent, if you're gonna dream about being a superhero, the White Ranger's not who you want to be.
And I wish I had a choice. You know, it's funny. I always thought it'd be cool to be a superhero. This isn't how I draw myself.
Look, let us help you.
No, it's too late. The drum's already taken over, just like he said. You know, you shouldn't walk to school alone. You never know who you might run into.
Yeah, the exact same story arc as has been presented in these episodes with Mutsuki were also seen of Dino Thunder and debuted only months before this in 2004. Granted, White Thunder is certainly more tame than this, but it follows the same bullet points despite that not being something adapted from Opera Ranger at all. Villain created transformation trinket powered by a malicious force, a somewhat antisocial or out-of-the-norm teenager ends up getting their hands on it, and it begins to possess them, which causes blackouts, them committing horrible acts unknowingly, and over time they come to covet the power they bear due to their own insecurities, with their wish to become a hero, now a dream distorted into a waking nightmare. This is good writing 101, and it is from Toshiki freaking Inui in what is considered the crap period of his career. I'm like, what is going on? I'm loving this! And it's something they have to follow up on in the same way Dino Thunder did as well. For the longer Mutsuki is exposed to the spider's influence, the more he sinks naturally with its way of thinking, meaning he either won't resist Spider using him, or he will be conscious, but agree with or do what Spider would have done without caring. In the same way, Dino Thunder's Trent succumbed to the white dino powers freeing of inhibitions. First shown here, with Liangle freeing another of his undead cards to get Kazaki off his back, feeling lighter than he ever has, and freely allowing Spider free to use him as he wishes when Tachibana in turn comes for it. I really like the transformation Mutsuki starts adopting here as well. The motion of him hiding his face right before he changes is highly symbolic of him swapping personalities, or something possessing him, with how the face he shows to the world is now masked to them all. However, the battle is broken just as it starts, as Mutsuki and Spider begin to fight for control. What their sinking has unintentionally caused is Mutsuki wanting to become stronger no matter what, and take command of his power for himself, which was not in Spider's plans. However, the Centipede Undead comes to anger someone it shouldn't have, coming across another of the Royal Club Undead, representing the Jack Queen and King category cards. This being Yazawa, the Capricorn Undead who's the Spade category Queen, who kicks its ass while it's still in human form. Shirai is kicked out of the Kurihara Cafe after one too many arguments over how Hajime endangers their lives, leaves him on bad terms with his sister and niece. A woman he encounters seems to take interest in him and the pecunities of his old Wait. I know her! Kaoru Mitsuki from Garo? Okay, that I didn't expect at all. Hell, add yet another tally to my appeared on a Toei Tokusatsu show count I have for that franchise. I seriously did not remember Mikahichi being in here from when I watched of Blade in 2009. She's an undead, isn't she? Because of course! Yeah, she came in there for her own plans. See, the Royal Club Undead have been observing everything, thus know how Board has a way to detect them. For everything that's gone on, they've pinned Shirai's place as their base of operations, and Mikahichi's character Miyuki Yoshinaga, the Orchid Undead, infiltrated their home to sabotage it and their ability to interfere in the battle fight as they have. Oh, and yes, Mikahichi in this acts horribly just like the rest of the cast. Far from what we'd get of her the following year in Chapter of the Black Wolf. What is with the direction of this show anyways that turns decent material into poorly presented camp? This just leaves Hajime alone as the one who can detect the undead, which is fine with him. Hajime telling them about Miyuki so they can focus on her, as she's stronger than Isaka was, while he deals with the centipede undead himself. However, them saving Shirai is halted by Yazawa interceding and revealing itself, fighting Kenzaki to a stalemate. Worse, when Tachibana shows up to fight Centipede only to find Chalice, he decides to face Hajime, but that's stalled as well by Mutsuki allowing Spider free as well, turning into a three-way brawl until the stress of the war within Liangle stalls it out, Tachibana explaining what's going on. Meanwhile with Blade, why does everyone keep using that phrase? I'm completely different than I was before! I'm completely different now! I'm completely different than when you fought before! It's just that repetitious and empty a line, as it should only be used when you've actually changed from who you once were, and it's a declarative statement of defining and culminating a character arc. Use it once! It's a legitimate statement, but it loses its impact if everyone uses it! He gets her to withdraw, allowing Kenzaki to warn the others and undeads after them. Kenzaki screwing up and suing from Yasawa, appearing that he was the undead after Shirai, and not Miyuki that Hajime actually was warning him about. Thus, with him forewarned and the danger far away, it's celebration time! That stuff better be pasteurized and not past its expiration date, dude. For the amount that is in there, some of it's gotta be spoiled. Mutsuki decides to ask Tachibana for help in mastering Liangle's power. Tachibana deciding to agree so he won't be a danger to himself or others.
ギャレンになる時の基礎訓練の一つだ。3! 150キロのスピードボール。そこに書いてある数字を読み取るんだ。
And this is the guy that's had the confidence issues screwing over his ability for half the show. But Mutsuki has a hard time of it, mainly because he has stuck in his head a new detail about him. That his wish to be a hero isn't just from Blade saving him, but a fear originating from when he happened to be kidnapped as a kid. The show never elaborates on this. Seems kinda like a pointless addition. Shirai tries to thank Hajime, but it goes badly since Hajime's only goal is to steal all the other undead, being straight up tsundere in his refusal of praise when he really didn't need to help him. It annoys Shirai, who falls right back into the hands of Miyuki. And while Shiori fixes the undead detector, it's too late. Yasawa shows right up at the house and leads him right to them. Shirai held as hostage so Kenzaki won't try and transform, but Miyuki summoning Rose tentacles in attack mode. Wow, I didn't know Koga was into bondage. I hope he remembers the safe word is Raiga. Thus, Kenzaki is forced to fight without his belt. Good thing he is not alone. Methinks the writer doth protest too much. But with him free, he can back up Kenzaki and throw him his driver, allowing him to survive against Capricorn while Chalice fends off Orchid. And while Capricorn is sealed, Miyuki lives to fight another day. We're at episode 22 now, and that's where the writer shift happened. While Shoji and Mai would return for a few episodes, Sho Aikawa started writing for the show with this episode, and it shows. Primarily with how the audio cues and the episode structure are a lot different now. For one thing, while it seems to go into more expansion of the characters, it entirely writes them out of character. Doing this just plain annoying thing where it makes them exaggerate all their responses that makes them more caricatures of characters than reflect who they've been presented as thus far, relying on comedic sight gags as a shortstop to incentivize viewer interest. And honestly, it lost me very fast, as you can't juxtapose violent murder and monsters with that well at all if it's not something already present within the series' narrative. And even then, as Agito and Ryuki showed, it had to be contextually appropriate to not come off as insulting. That moment, within seconds of the pratfall humor. Just like with O-Ranger, you can't paradigm shift the material that fast to something entirely different than the style previously presented. Toshiki Inoue's writing motifs fit the series. They didn't conflict and built a good three-parter off of what had been established. And this takes a straight left turn into something else, and it's just irritating. At the very least, it didn't entirely abandon what had been seen before. Tachibana continues to train Mutsuki to be able to ward off the influence of Spider, and the other writers do continue to be professional in their dealing with undead attacks. But while there was hilarity and intended camp of the show that made it fun, that's pretty much absent now. Hajime gets a commission for photography work from Toko Fujita, who happened to play Sumiko Ozawa in Kamen Agito. Are we certain Inoue wasn't writing this? While out with Toko's character, Rei Kamioka, Hajime encounters Takahara, the Eagle Undead, and here we see a paradigm shift for the undead as well. While we are down to mostly the Royal Club ones who are very intelligent, they, or at least Takahara, all seem to want something more than to win the battle fight. Them all appearing to have an actual hatred for humanity in what they have built, despite using it to their own ends. As Tachibana and Mutsuki fight the Mole Undead, responsible for the subway murders, Rei by chance catches sight of the picture Hajime carries, recognizing it as being the Elder Kurihara's. Before she can get an answer to why he has it, Miyuki comes and attacks her to get her out of the way of having a conversation. Miyuki wanted to ally with them for the express purpose of the Royal Club's goal. They all hate humans, so they're just going to focus on killing humans before they even bother with the battle fight. While before the undead attacking humans seemed to be more of, it's just because they were there, these higher tier ones seem to layer their own crap on top of it that distracts them from what their actual goal should be. And it for some reason annoys me, as well it gives them more abstract goals, motivations, and depth. We already know what they want. To win the battle fight, so their own species can reign supreme over the world. Why complicate that?
なんだバンデットがカリスを助けているカリスお前1万年前の約束今こそ果たそう
See, this is what I'm talking about. While you expect more complexity from more powerful and sophisticated monsters that'd be the relative generals in a more evenly structured show, frankly, Isaka was the one that was doing this right, while every other one following this just feels like they're creating their own distractions. The Mole Undead and diving beneath the earth gives the team a hard time. Mutsuki is still struggling to overcome Spider's influence and finds his own reason to fight. And Mista is asking Kanzaki why he fights and, well, he's just a salaryman. He answers that he fights for a paycheck. Except he doesn't. We've already shown from the early episodes that he has a desire to help people. That would be why he does this, beyond any other reason, due to the trauma of losing his parents that was established in the opening episodes of the show. The salary doesn't matter to him as another earlier episode showed, his pay is absolute crap. I hate to say it, but I kind of wish Toshiki Inoue had taken over the show. Yeah, Inoue has his crap tropes, but he would have more easily slid into the existing paradigm and made what was here work without just opposing an entire soft reboot that forgot how to do soft in it. From this, Liangle effortlessly masters the power of Spider, removing any actual freaking drama or interest from the now 3 main characters. Okay, so he's spraying freezing water at the opponent to lock them in place, so why isn't the water pressure repelling him the other way? It's gotta be slowing down the force of his kick. Granted, if you're rushing him between your legs, you don't need the force of gravity to increase the strength you hit at, but then why jump from so far away at all then? I don't like this rider kick. Takahara and Miyuki meet to ask each other, what the hell, musing on the Hero Rider system's ability to use Undead's power, both of them assuming Chalice is the Mantis Undead, who was said to have unrivaled power among them. And this is all information we already know. All it boils down to is one point. Stay out of my way. Rei confronts Hajime once again over the photo, having stolen the negatives from Kurihara's last roll of film, and found his image on it, demanding an answer from him and whether he was the one to kill Kurihara.
罪滅ぼしのつもり？助けたわ。でも私はシャッターチャンスを
人間を助けたりしない。俺は俺のことだけ考えている。
We have repeatedly seen that that is not true, and yet he says it with conviction. Furthermore, photo enhancement tech in those days for that kind of thing was absolute crap. Guy in white against a snowy backdrop? Pfft, yeah, right, you'd get anything usable. You'd have a better chance of getting a clear shot of a Yeti. Hell, the photo processing department for Toei to even make that mock-up couldn't even do it well enough so it looked like anything other than fake. Kidzaki overhears this and asks what it's about. Hajime explaining that when he met Kurihara on death's door, the man's concern for his own family, beyond even his own life, had not been something he'd ever experienced, and the rest we already know. Mutsuki gets more training from Tachibana, this time on the tactics of how to use the Rose card system for transformation and ability use, which is again something we already freaking know, and Mutsuki used without problem in the last freaking episode. Its purpose is to lead into discussing what Isaka's card Fusion does. All he says it does being to charge power in the Rouser, and also to mention how Kidzaki doesn't have the problems he does. No, when they scouted Kidzaki, he had a perfect fusion coefficient with his category ace, thus avoiding the backfire they both have, which is again what we already know. Takahara kidnaps Rei to get to Hajime, when he could have just directly freaking called him out.
邪魔だろそんなやつ。さ、早く殺せ。
Why? There's no point in doing so. Actually, this is because Takahara thinks he's the Mantis Undead, which Hajime always uses as his base form because it's the strongest card he has. Hajime able to change into any undead his system can scan, which he needs to do this time, as Takahara steals the Mantis card. Kidzaki sees all of this, questioning this power as well, and offering to help him retrieve the card.
あの女の話を聞いたのか。俺が人殺しだったら。お前は誰も殺していない。なぜわかる？信じたいから信じる。それだけだよ。
Miyuki counters Mutsuki and manipulates him, saying she lost a card with a picture on it, until Mutsuki reveals his Rouse system.
それが欲しいの。特にカテゴリー10が。
Remember when these people were written as being brain dead? That wasn't even freaking clever! Oh, bullcrap! Blade also faces down with Takahara, barring the power of Hajime's card. Yes, we already know this! He manages to retrieve the Mantis card, Rei for some reason causing Hajime to stall in transforming, but he saves her from an incidental fire, which makes her instantly change her mind about him and his actions. Mutsuki blows his chance to stop Orchid because he hesitates in his card choice, alongside Tachibana distracting him, so the battle ends.
千原さんが余計なこと言うから。
今のカードじゃ無理だ。何を焦ってる？戦いはカード集めじゃないんだ。
Actually, that franchise was in the middle of the Millennium World arc, which had very little card game content part of it. No, seriously, episode 212 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist aired the same week as this episode. And I didn't know why Sho Aikawa would be so hostile to that, since the guy who was overseeing that series at the time was Junki Takagami, a veteran Super Sentai writer who Aikawa was mentored by, and the two would then collaborate on Bokenger. Kidzaki and Hajime finish off Takahara. Takahara's final words revealing he just wanted to fight to the end with Mantis in the finals, saying it's the destined fate of Chalice and humanity's representative, as he finally realized what Hajime is. And he should have from the beginning, as that isn't Chalice's belt. Later, during a blood moon, the wolf undead starts attacking people and turning them into werewolves with really bad costumes to them. Well, at least it isn't a cactus this time, but seriously? Seriously. This is just a... What? Why? This feels like a show era plot done out of place and time. It doesn't really fit the series as It's not even an ability card. He's a category Jack, and they all have the same power fusion ability. Mitsuki takes Nozomi to an amusement park on a date, her noticing how he's starting to be more assertive, only for them to get caught up in the wolf minions attacking. I call foul. Werewolves only attack at night. Hell, it makes those masks look even worse, as Beetleborgs had a more convincing wolf mask for Wolfgang. Sadly, these minions do not set off the undead detector. Shuri busy with something else. First of all, she did not have that ability before this point. Second, if she always had that ability, why the hell has she not used it before? That would have been very useful in, saving your coworkers from death by locust undead. It's not the kind of thing you can use only as a freaking sight gag. Granted, women in Kamen Rider being insanely strong is not a trait that has been seen a total of 3 times in non-combatants. Shiori the first ever seen with it, followed by Hana in Den-O, and lastly to date with Hina in O's. And each and every goddamn time it shows up, there is never an explanation for how they possess that ability. And it's frustrating as even if they don't transform, a power like that is insanely, and I do mean insanely useful. It's as if they only ever seem to use it for the sake of comedy. And I ask with all sincerity, what the hell? Her doing this with one finger, moving an object that weighs 0.1 tons, infers directly that if she were to actually throw a normal punch, then she'd hit stronger than Kazaki does in rider form. Do not do this! Langle finds he can't seal the wolves, Miyuki helping him as their number is an eyesore. If too many happen to gather, they can become a problem in the battle fight. However, they're interceded on by a group of combat-dressed troops with guns. Where did you get guns? In Japan. Who all shoot down the werewolves, before turning the weapons on Miyuki to no effect. Has this guy met Shiro Amiya by any chance? I mean, it doesn't even make sense for him to say that. He said it after she stopped a car and forced it away from her with pure strength. It's not like it ran her over only for her to get back up with no injuries, as they haven't even freaking injured her yet. The head of these guys says he has a gun that can stop them literally in their tracks as opposed to sealing them, but before he can do anything, it cuts to her later, having retaken human form and her running from the wolf undead. What the hell even happened in the interim? She didn't say anything at all. They are all stopped by a third undead. It revealed these guys all seem to operate off of territories now? That's not how any of the undead have been shown to operate, period. Why would they care about territory? They're not that kind of antagonist! This new one is Daichi, the elephant undead, and he has no interest in fighting, but is forced to when Miyuki and Wolf flee the battle, only to subvert that as well, so what was even the point? Kenzaki and Tachibana are told about the undead hunters, Kenzaki thinking this is a good thing if their weapons actually work, but Tachibana is more skeptical. The rider system was as much made to protect the user as it is allow them to fight. Without that, a normal human could be more easily killed even with such a weapon. Hell, they've become higher priority targets to be killed in the moments they don't have the weapon on them. Something Kenzaki ultimately agrees with after such a concern is voiced. Though when Kenzaki comes across them, he finds that they are killing thralls with guns that put them on fire. That's vampires. At least in certain stories. But werewolves? Yeah, no, silver! Silver is what you need! Still, he's impressed with their ability, the team all knowing of him. That's zombies! And some types of vampires. But not werewolves! Werewolves require a living victim to carry an infectious mutagenic virus. Hell, you want to do this? There are types of fungi that act like parasites to make minions! The leader introduces himself as Shinmei, their mission to hunt and stop undead, and things seem on the up and ups on this. But it isn't a outright lie. Shinmei, however, is revealed to be in this for his own ends, revealing a black and red bike Tachibana recognizes. It is a board prototype bike known as the Black Fang, which is meant to assist the board rider team with additional capabilities in defeating the undead, but was never completed due to board's destruction. How he got it is not answered, but it shows itself to be much faster than their bikes, but it lacking the interfacing for the rouse system, which would allow these guys to actively be able to fight and defeat undead by hitting them with it, which is doable if they freeze them even temporarily with their guns. Kanzaki is ecstatic at the idea, encouraging Tachibana to agree, though the senior man is very skeptic of it. Miyuki's actions lead Hajime to Daichi, forcing the elephant into a fight, Miyuki thinking she could just lead them into battle and strike when they're both weak to take their power as her own. That's not how undead work! Chalice is an abnormality in the system, and the only one capable of doing that, and the other riders are not undead, but repurposing each of their unique powers in the rouse system. Daichi, however, figures out what's going on, knocking Chalice away roughly, and directing his ire to Miyuki, who just runs again. The riders finish the Black Fang, only to find... Gasp! Shinmei's killed everyone else because he's an undead! He only wanted to wreck their bikes and complete the Black Fang for his own use, as the rouse system would allow him to augment it with his own power. Wait, couldn't you do that yourself without needing that modification? Hajime does it! What? Ugh. I need a break. We're halfway through the show now. We'll pick it up again next time.
奴はアンテッドだ。いつ俺たちの敵になるかわからん。でも俺は信じたいんです。